Hello, Belen. How are you today? All right. Hello, Hazel and Jack. Good to see you. Have I recovered physically? Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I'm not sick now. I still have some allergies, but that's just what we call seasonal allergies. Let me get rid of my jacket. It's too warm. Okay. Hello, Patrick. All right, so we're here. Today is called Ask Teacher Mark. I know it's the same thing again and again and again. I know. But, you know, it's hard to come up with new ideas of what to do. So here's what we're going to try today. This is going to be hard, but what I'm going to try to do today is you can ask me any questions that you want to ask me, but I will only answer it if it's a question I have not heard before. We're going to try that today. Because new people come every time I do a live stream. I have done more than 1,000 of these. No exaggeration, no joke. I have done more than 1,200 of these live streams. And every time people come and ask questions like, how can I be good in English? Or how can I improve my vocabulary? Or what's the difference between simple present or simple past and past continuous? Or whatever. So today the new rule is I will answer your question, but only if your question is a new question. So you have to think about something to ask me that I haven't been asked before. Okay? How can you be good at nothing? You're doing it. I'm just kidding, Woody. How long have I been playing musical instruments? I started playing the drums when I was about 12, 11 or 12. It was on, I think it was my 11th Christmas, if I remember right, that I got my drums. And I had started lessons maybe a little bit before that. So Drums, I've been playing for 35 plus years. But I started playing music before that because I started playing piano. I did a few years of piano lessons before I did drums. And I also did a little bit with violin and a little bit with saxophone. And so, so I started with music when I was probably 9, 8, something like that. That's a really good age to start music, I think. 8 or 9. Because before 8 or 9, children don't usually develop the physical coordination that they need to be able to play an instrument well. There are exceptions. There are children who can learn that kind of advanced coordination early, but not most. Most kids are a little bit clumsy because they're new. They have not lived very long, so their bodies haven't learned how to use motion as well as people who have been around longer, right? So 8 or 9, at that age, that's about the right age when a child should have full development, almost full development of their coordination, physical coordination. Okay? How am I doing? I'm doing fine. How is anyone doing? The teacher who loves coffee. That's true. Is this sentence correct? He's done so much stuff and been so many... No, it has to be he's done so much stuff and he's been... it should be he's done so much stuff and has been to so many interesting places. Has been to so many interesting places. Okay? What's the meaning of celibate? Celibate means that you choose to not have sex. That's what celibate means. Okay? You're choosing to not have sex. All right? Next question. Ooh, I like this one. Bliss has a question. If languages had personalities, which language do you think is more polite? Why? I like that question. I would say that's not entirely about languages, but it's partially about languages. Part of it is about culture, and part of it is about language. And I don't know enough about every language in the world to know which... I'll give the best answer that I can with the knowledge that I have. All right? So, if I had to say which is the most polite language, I would probably say Japanese. Because culturally, they do everything very, they bow, they do everything very politely, right? However, I would also say that English is a very polite language as well. Sometimes people think Americans, when we talk, we use a lot of please and we say a lot of thank yous and we say, oh, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. It's really nice of you to do that for me. And some people think that when we talk like that, we're being fake. Like we don't really feel thankful or we don't really feel polite. We're just faking it. I don't think that's true at all. No. My parents taught me to be polite. We say please, we say thank you. We try to ask for everything in the nicest way possible. We consider our language to try to ask things in the nicest way possible. And there are people I know who are much more polite than that. Now, that's not to say that's not everybody. I also know many, many Americans who speak very directly to each other, especially if you know each other, right? For example, in families. Sometimes in families, people speak with each other very directly and maybe even kind of coarsely, roughly, aggressively. But that's because we can, right? So if my sister is helping me cook and I say, hey, can you chop that, please? I won't even say please. Maybe I'll just say, hey, chop that. Because she's my sister and she knows that I'm not trying to be rude. We're just trying to get things done, right? So there's an implied politeness between families that sometimes means you can be more aggressive in the way you speak, more directly aggressive, okay? But when I'm speaking to somebody that I don't know, right? If I come to your house and I say, hey, can I help in the kitchen? Then I will ask to do everything very politely, and I will expect to be asked politely because I'm new. Okay? So it's a very interesting question. It has a lot to do with culture, though, and the concept of politeness in your culture. Okay? And this is not to say that other cultures are not polite. Every culture is polite because people try to be nice. That's just a general rule. Okay? Okay, next question. That's a cool question, though. I like that. See, now we're getting somewhere. That's better. When you ask questions like that, I like that. Those are questions that make me think. Okay? So I like it. Good things come in small packages means improvement comes little by little. Carl, it could mean that, but I would say no, that the main meaning, like for example, my mom is pretty short. She's a short woman, right? So maybe she'll say that about herself, like a joke. Hey, look, good things come in small packages. I'm small, I'm good. Okay? So sometimes it's a joke that we make about small or short things, short people or small things. Let's see. And yeah, that's the basic meaning, is that something doesn't have to be big for it to be valuable. Okay? Something can be small and be very valuable. All right? But you could use it maybe in that way to make improvements little by little. If you're making a small improvement and somebody says, hey, you're not, or, you know, hey, you're getting there, you're learning, it's getting better. It's small improvements, but it's getting better, right? It's small improvement, but you can say, hey, but good things come in small packages, right? That means like it's small improvement, but that's still good improvement, right? Okay, next question. Today I am only answering questions that I have not heard before. If you ask me a question that I have heard before, I'm going to ignore it. Okay? So think about your questions. Okay? The difference between pass away and kick the bucket is nothing. Kick the bucket is a slang term that means to die. Pass away is a euphemism that means to die. Euphemisms are language that is softer, so it doesn't sound so bad. So I could say, he died, but that sounds bad. But if I say, he passed away, it sounds nicer, it sounds softer. Those are euphemisms. Euphemisms are language that we use to make something bad sound not so bad. Okay? Kick the bucket is just an idiom that means to die. Okay? He kicked the bucket means he died. Okay? Hello, Krishna from Nepal. Namaste. Do you think AI will replace teachers someday? Yes. I think it will replace many teachers very, very soon. Do I think it will replace all teachers? No. And as a matter of fact, I think it's very possible that it will help us to show who the real teachers are. Because AI, very, very soon, AI will have all the knowledge, much more knowledge than most people could have, right? So in that way, it will be good. And it will learn how to teach. It will learn the styles of teaching so that it can teach well. But when you're learning, a big part of learning is motivation. A big part of learning is inspiration. A big part of learning is curiosity. These are feelings that you can't talk about with ChatGPT. You can't talk about that with AI. It won't be able to truly answer anything about curiosity. It won't be able to truly answer anything about feelings or inspiration or motivation. The answers it will give will feel hollow. If ChatGPT tells you, "Come on, you can do it," that's not as good as when your friend tells you, "Come on, you can do it," or your teacher, a human, tells you, "Come on, you can do it." There's a connection, a human element to teaching that's part of inspiration and encouragement. Right now, I am trying to encourage you. I don't think that AI will ever be better than humans at encouraging, because encouragement requires connection. Okay, motivation and encouragement, truly, you need to feel a connection that someone believes in you. That's the thing. A real teacher believes in you. AI can't believe in you. And so, AI will replace many teachers who don't have the qualities that they should have to inspire and to motivate and to create a passion for curiosity. There are many teachers who do not have those qualities that they should have. Those teachers will probably be gone. And I don't think that's a bad thing. Teaching is a job that should only be done by people who have passion. If you don't have passion, you should not be a teacher. That's my belief. AI will never have passion. It can't. Passion is a human element. Okay, so that's what I believe. Next question. You have a problem with classroom management. Yes, I know we've talked about this before. They make noise and fight a lot. They shout and punish them, but it did not work. It sounds like you're in a very difficult situation. It sounds like you need help. Okay? I think you need to tell your principal. You cannot continue to teach if this is how it is. Something must change. Part of a principal's job is to create the environment that the teacher can work in. If a teacher cannot work, we cannot teach. We can't do our job if the environment is not correct. So that's why punishments are, teachers do give punishments, but Punishment is actually the job of the school, the administration, the principal. That's their duty. Their duty is to make sure your classroom is a room where you can do your job. And if it's not, most of the responsibility is yours. You do need to learn how to have control of a classroom, and it is difficult. It's very hard sometimes. And sometimes it's impossible by yourself. And when it's impossible by yourself, you must go insist that something change or that you get some help. So for example, I remember I had a particularly difficult class one time, and my boss, for 1 week, she came to class and she sat in the front of the class while I taught. And guess what? The kids behaved because she was in the room. The one who can cut your head off is in the room. Okay? And I told you before, get a video camera. Any teacher teaching in a classroom should have a video camera to protect themselves and the students. Record everything so that there's a record of what's happened in case anything bad happens. It's always a good idea. So you should be doing that. And if everything is on video, it's easy to say, hey, you're on video right now. You understand that I can walk down the hall and show this video to the principal and you'll be in trouble, right? And then you may need to tell a few parents. You may need to tell 3 parents. Choose 3 or 1 and tell that parent or, no, don't do 1. Never do 1. Always do more than 1, because if you do 1, they say you're singling someone out. You're making them the bad guy. So always do more than 1. But choose 2 students or 3 students and call the parents and tell the parents your child is not allowed to come to my classroom until their behavior changes. They will sit in the hallway and do homework every day until their behavior changes. So they will not be in my classroom, they will be in the hall. They will have homework to do, and you as a parent must check that homework because they're sitting in the hallway doing nothing. It's your responsibility to make sure your child is behaving well in my class. Parents, if you have kids, do you understand that that's a job, right? You understand that when you become a parent, there's a job there. You have a responsibility to do things like teach your kids about things like respect the teacher, don't talk in class, don't be a bully. But guess what? I would say about 70% of parents don't teach their children anything. At least 50%. At least 50% of parents don't teach their kids anything anymore. They might have back in the day, but they don't anymore. So a teacher's job becomes much harder because the children don't know what proper behavior is because their parents never taught them. So now a teacher has to teach English and has to parent. I have to do parenting a lot when I teach classes. Okay, so in your case, I think you need to go talk to your principal again. And you need to be serious and professional about it. Okay, next question. Do we use come across and run into for both things and people? Let me think about that for a moment. Come across is almost always for information or things. And run into is usually for people. But I say usually because language is an art, not a science. So I could say, hey, I ran into some good information yesterday. Why not? Sure, it's kind of poetically trying to say I found some information. I ran into it. Okay? Or I could say I came across a good worker. I came across a good person for this job. That's a person you come across. Okay? So there are possible contexts or situations where you could use them for either people or things. Okay? Is there a difference between partly and partially? Good question. My instinct tells me no. I'm trying to formulate the difference in my mind. That's what I thought. Yeah. So partly is used for parts of something. So I want you to imagine like a piece of a pie, right? That's a part. Okay. But partially is more for a degree or an extent. So think more about part is more about a piece of something. Partially is more about a shade of something, right? Is it dark blue? Is it light blue? Is it blue-green? You know, is it... So what shade of it is it? It's partially this, okay? So that's what I would say. All right, next. How can we strengthen critical thinking in ourselves? Study critical thinkers. Study people who think well. That's why I like philosophy. I know it's boring, but it helps you think. You have to think. If you want to think well, you have to think a lot. So develop your self-awareness. You need to be self-aware, because self-awareness is how you ask questions about yourself, right? Am I really smart or not? I don't know. Maybe not. Am I wrong here or am I right? I don't know. Maybe not. You have to question. If you never question, you're never critical. If you never question, you're never critical. So developing a critical mind is all about developing a questioning mind. And you have to question with honesty and integrity. That means you have to ask questions about things that you already believe are true. If they are true, it's okay to ask questions. They will still be true. But if they are not true and you ask questions, then you'll find out they're not true. So, I read a lot about... I love quotes, for example. I read quotes all the time because a quote is a little poem of thought. It's something to make you think about a big idea. It's a few words that can make you think about something all day, right? To be or not to be, that is the question. Have you ever really thought about that? Have you ever really spent time thinking about those words? You should. That's why they were written. So, critical thinking is about questioning. You have to develop your ability to question well. Okay? How can one refine their pronunciation and enunciation skills without adopting a native-like accent while still communicating clearly? Okay, Shakar, I would say you're on the right track. Don't try to get rid of your accent, but do try to get clarity of your language. So, enunciation is about exaggeration. Look at my mouth. Enunciation is about exaggeration and diction. So, exaggerate your mouth as much as you can, and it will be clear, even if you have an accent. All right? Okay. Next question. And today, I am only answering questions that I have not heard before. Okay? Today, I am only answering questions that I have not heard before. And why don't I practice here? Because, hello, I'm a human being. It's not my job to wake up and help you practice English. I'm a teacher. I'm here to teach people. You don't come on Hello Talk. No. So listen, treasure. Nobody is here just waiting to practice English with you. That's not how it works. And certainly not when I turn on my streams. Okay? I'm a teacher. I'm going to teach. All right? Okay, next question. Huh? Okay, next question is, what topics should we discuss when trying to speak English with others to improve the language? Anything you want. I would just say anything that's interesting to you. But don't use controversy to create conversation. Controversy means things that people argue about. Okay? Talk about simple things. That's why we talk about the weather. It's a beautiful day today, isn't it? Yeah, I love this weather. Fall is one of my favorite seasons because I love the crisp air and I can wear a light jacket. It's not so hot. There's a conversation. You started it, right? Sports is another one. Did you see the game last night? I don't watch sports, so it's not for me, but many people do watch sports. So you could talk about sports to start a conversation. You can ask about their interests. What do you like to do for fun? Oh, I like that too. Let's talk about movies. We both like movies. Let's talk about fishing. We both like fishing. Let's talk about food. We both like cooking. Whatever you're interested in, that's what you can share. And then you can be curious about what they're interested in. Be curious. That's how you carry a conversation. Be curious. Oh, where are you from? Oh, what do you do? Now, be curious, but be politely curious. Okay? Where are you from and what do you do are okay questions. But sometimes people say, how much money do you make a year? That is not an okay question, and I don't know why you think it would be. Don't ask people how much money they make. There are so many reasons why that's just a bad idea. It's so many reasons. I can't think of one good reason why it's a good idea to ask somebody how much money they make. So, be curious, but don't be impolitely curious. Okay? Next question. At the 11th hour means you're just in time for a good thing. Not exactly. Kind of. At the 11th hour means right before something is about to be finished. So I finished my test at the 11th hour. Means that let's see, like maybe your test, you're taking an English test and you have 1 hour to finish the test. The test starts at 12 o'clock in the afternoon and you have to finish at 1 p.m., right? So you finished at 12:58 p.m. You had 2 minutes left. That's the 11th hour. It means at the last minute. Okay? So it's not really about just in time for a good thing. It just means I finished or I did it right before it was over. Okay? Right before the end. Hello, Lily. Hello, Roman. Hello, everyone. Sergey's saying, how about the stage? So, if you have a question that I think is a really interesting question, then maybe I'll invite you on the stage. Okay? All right. Yes, I am a drummer. And I am a teacher also. 我是英文老师，同时也是我是鼓手。OK， 我有很多的工作。OK， 如果我可以做，我做。Can I explain the difference between find out and figure out? Hello, Ron. How are you? Sometimes there's no difference, but I think there is a slight difference in many cases. Figure out. Ron, you need to remember the word figure. Figure, the original meaning of figure means numbers. Okay, so when I was a kid, I remember some people said, I'm practicing my figures. And that meant numbers. Okay, so figure it out is about math. To solve a problem is to figure it out. All right? But find out is just to find. So finding new information is to find out something. I found out that he's going to be here next week. I found out that we can't do this thing. I found out something. To find out. Can you find out if we can join? Can you find out if... now, if I say, can you find out if we can join? And you say, oh, we can join, but there's a big... there's an application. We have to figure out the application. So, can you find out if we can join? Oh, yes, we can join. But we need to figure out the application, which means to solve the problem of the application. Okay, by doing it. Like, what do we need to do to make that happen? Okay, so figure out is about solving a problem. Find out is about finding some new information of some kind. Okay? Okay, do I recommend reciting words one step at a time or reciting paragraphs? I don't really recommend reciting anything. Recitation is not that valuable. There are many other things that would be more beneficial than recitation. Okay? I would say that reciting words can be valuable, but there are so many other things that you could be doing, like studying vocabulary and improving your grammar. So instead of trying to study the words of another person by reciting them, why not try to look at the words they said and understand them? Understand the vocabulary, understand the grammar. Don't just memorize the words, understand them. Okay? Thank you for the gifts, everyone. Leo wants to know, can there be replays of your live streams? I want to watch them multiple times to review and fully absorb the content. Leo, there are, but it's a little tricky for you. Every Hello Talk live stream I do is on YouTube. Right now I'm on YouTube. Hello David Castillo over there in my YouTube. I have two screens. One is on YouTube over here, and one is on Hello Talk right here. So, almost all of my Hello Talk live streams are recorded and on YouTube that you can watch as many times as you want. Okay? They are unedited. I don't have time to go through all my videos and cut out the little good parts for you. Okay? I'm kind of old, and in my time, if you wanted to learn something, you had to have the courage and determination. The courage and the determination to go get the information. Nobody would just cut it into a nice little piece for you, right? So when I was a kid, if I wanted to learn something about this idea, I had to watch the whole documentary to understand it. I didn't just watch a 1-minute clip from TikTok or from 5 minutes from YouTube. I watched the whole thing. So you must do the same thing on my YouTube channel. If you want that information, then you must go get it. All right? I don't make it easy for the lazy people. If you're lazy, you won't like my channel. All right? So, what is my YouTube channel? My YouTube channel is right here. Okay, Leo? But 你是中国人，所以我感觉如果你要看，你需要用那个梯子。Okay? All right. Next question. How to be focused. Focus is just like anything else. You have to practice. So, do you practice focus? Do you try to watch things that require focus? Do you try to do activities that require focus? Okay, like for example, many years ago I studied a little bit of Japanese Zen culture, right? Like flower arranging and tea ceremony and walking meditations. And these activities are about practicing focus. So when you make tea in the Japanese tea ceremony, you are not thinking about anything else except the tea. You're not thinking about what you need to do tomorrow. You're not thinking about work or your family or your friends. You're not thinking about the mistakes you made in the past or how you feel. You are thinking only about the activity of making the tea. That's it. That's practicing focus. It's a beautiful thing to practice. It's a very valuable thing to practice. And there are many other cultures that have a similar thing, activities that require focus, cultural activities that require focus. So, reading, practice reading, that requires focus. Fishing, practice fishing, that requires focus. Do things that require focus. Cooking requires focus. Okay? Okay, so here is the rule. Today, the rule is, today I am only answering questions that I have not heard before. So if your question is a question I have answered many times before, I'm sorry, but today I'm not answering those questions. So if you say, how can I be good in English? I'm not going to answer that question. If you say, How can I improve my accent? I'm not going to answer that question. If you say, how can I memorize vocabulary better? I'm not going to answer that question. Okay? I answer those questions. I have answered those 3 questions hundreds of times. I am not joking. Hundreds of times I have answered the difference between present perfect and simple past. Hundreds of times. So today, I'm only answering new questions. So think about your questions, okay? Yes, I'm sorry, but Alone and Denmark, those are 2 questions I've answered many, many, many times before. So you can come back and ask me those questions again, and maybe I'll answer them tomorrow. Or you can go watch my videos on YouTube to find the answer, or you can try to choose another question today. Okay? Can I explain what aware means? Sure, yeah. To be aware of something means to know about it. Okay? So, if I say, are you aware that we changed the time of our meeting? That means, do you know that we changed the time? So, when I talk about self-awareness means you're looking inside at yourself, at the way you behave. You are aware, you know about how you act. You pay attention, okay? So, to become aware means to become that you know something now, okay? You become knowledgeable of something now, okay? Are you aware means do you know now, okay? Awareness. Actually, let me look. I want to look to see where's that one come from. The word aware comes from Old English and Old German. Gewahr, which means cautiousness and wariness, to watch out, right? So that's what it means, is to watch out for things. So when I say, are you aware, it means, did you know, were you watching out so that you know, okay? Playing games requires focus too. Jason, you know how I feel about games. You're right, playing games does require focus. But the problem is, it's focused distraction, Jason. It's focused escapism. When you're really good at a game and you're focused on that game, nothing else matters. So yeah, that's focus. But the problem is, if you spend 6 hours of your day focused like nothing else matters, there's a problem, Jason. Because guess what? Things do matter in the real world. So nothing else matters when you're playing the video game. In the video game, everything's fine. But if you spend a lot of your day playing that game in the real world, it will not be fine. Okay? All right. Today you started teaching class 7 in your village for English. What's good advice for you? Class 7. Do you mean grade 7 or do you mean age 7? That's a very different thing. Fazalamin. That's a cool name. I like that name. Fazalamin. What? Grade 7. So they're about 13 or 14 years old? 12, 13, 14. Is that right? Okay. That is a hard age. That's when kids start to become a lot more difficult. So my advice is, if you have never taught before, teaching is something that you can really only learn by doing it. And you can only be good at it if you care about it. So if you care about it and you do it, you will get better. All right? You need to listen, and you need to think about your students and think about how they're feeling. Why are they confused? Why do they not understand? Why are they acting badly? Why are they acting good? You need to know a lot about psychology, okay? And what I mean is, you don't need to read books. It helps. You can read. If you study psychology, it will help you as a teacher, definitely. But I just mean caring about your students means thinking about their psychology. So maybe one kid is a bad kid every day, and you don't like that kid because he's a bad kid every day. But if you think about their psychology, maybe that kid has a very bad home life. Maybe the father hits him. Maybe the mother is never there. Maybe, I don't know, who knows, maybe he gets bullied a lot in school by kids in your class, right? You need to try to think about the maybes. What are the possible reasons why this person acts this way? Okay, why are they good? Oh, why are they trying to kiss up to me so much? You know, what's the angle? That's what we say. What are they trying to get from me? You know, you have to know about psychology, and you have to care. And then just go do it. Go do it and try your best. And remember, if you want your students to be excited about learning, you have to be excited about teaching. If you look like you are bored when you teach, then your students will be bored. So being a teacher is about having energy to be able to project that excitement about learning. If you can't do that, that's a problem. Okay? All right, next question. Please be patient. I'm trying to go as fast as I can. You're always confused with the words other and another. Yes. So, another means one more. One more. Okay, so can I have another glass of water? Can I have another another beer? Can I have another sandwich? It means one more. Okay, you already had one, now you want one more. But the word other just means different. So if I say, can I have that cup? And you give me this one, and I say, no, not that one, the other one. The other one. It means a different one. Okay? So, an other means one more. Okay? And the way you can remember is because one more, that's two words. An other is actually two words. Right? So an other means one more, and other means different. Okay? What about speaking and translation in your own language? Try not to do it. It's a simple answer. If you're learning a language, you should learn how to think in that language. That's not a crazy idea. You should learn how to read and write and listen and speak, but it's crazy to learn how to read and write and listen and speak, but not learn how to think in that language? That's weird. So learn how to think in the language. Okay, don't translate. I spoke about Plato as one of my favorites. Can you please tell you why? Do I know something about his solace? So, Marco, I like Plato for a lot of reasons. I read Plato's The Republic when I was probably 19 or 20, I think I was, a long time ago, 30 years ago. I love the dialectic, the questioning, Socratic questioning, and the concept of trying to find the truth by discussion and questioning. Like a bunch of guys just get together and say, hey, let's talk about government, right? Let's try to think about, like, what would be the best government, And then they're all just drinking some wine and having some food while they talk about government. And they say, oh, well, that's a good idea, but what about this? And, oh, that's true, but what about this? And they keep doing that. And they just keep talking until they come up with the right ideas. And I love that. The concept of questioning to seek truth and insatiable curiosity. That's what I got from Plato. That a philosopher has to have infinite questions. Unlimited questions. Philosophers never run out of questions. That's what I learned. And questions means you have to have curiosity. Okay? And, I studied, or I should say I still study. I won't, I'm no expert. I'm just a drummer. But I loved reading Plato and Socrates and Euripides, and I read a bunch of the Stoics, So what I like about Plato in particular was just, again, the method, the methodology, the curiosity, the dialogue, the dialectic questioning, yeah, that's what I really loved about it. Okay? How can you stop translating in your mind when you want to speak English? Okay, I have answered this question before many, many, many times, but I will quickly give you a brief answer. However, you should just watch some of my videos. I talk about this all the time, all right? Start with simple things. So tomorrow, if someone, hold on one moment. Let's see. So tomorrow, if someone says ciao to you, in your mind, you can think hello. If someone says, if you want to say thank you to someone, when you say thank you to them in Italian, I want you to think about it in English. Okay, so if you say grazie, I want you to think thank you. All right, start with all the simple words. Okay, if you think good, don't think bene, think good. Right? Just choose simple ideas. Start with baby ideas. Anything that a baby can think, can you do that in English? Start with that. All right? Now, for the rest of my answer, there are 4 parts to this answer. I just gave you part 1, baby English. All right? That's the first step to learn how to think in another language, is to start with baby thoughts in that language. All right? What keeps me motivated to do live streams? It's hard to answer, because being a teacher, a big part of being a teacher is about consistency. A teacher has to be there. That's a big part of being a teacher. You have to be there. If you really want to have a teacher affect you, then you have to be around them enough to be affected by them. And that's why great students don't feel like they have to be in that classroom. Great students feel like they're lucky to be in that classroom. Okay? So, I love to answer questions because I love to think. I love to help people consider things in another way. And I love to help people find the answers. I don't always give them to you, but I'll help you find them. Okay? And passion. Passion is a sail that fills itself. Passion is a sail that fills itself. So when you ask me, how do I have the energy? Because I have passion. Okay? 1 hour twice a week. I'll accept that, Jason. That's an acceptable amount of gameplay. That's an acceptable amount. Okay? Good for you. What should you do if you want to speak English fluently? Think about better questions. George. Come back and watch me regularly, okay? If you don't know who I am, my name is Teacher Mark. I have been on Hello Talk for 12 years. I have 84,000 followers. I am a real teacher. Okay? If you come here, you will learn. I'm here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I have done more than 1,200 live streams. I have done more than 2,000 hours of teaching here. Okay? So come, watch, learn, listen. Now, today I'm only answering new questions. So if you ask me a question that's not new, then I won't answer it today. Okay? So think about your questions carefully. Ivan says, many Koreans themselves can't even fully master Korean properly, and considering that English is a completely opposite language and an isolating one... Ivan, you have great questions, but they're too long. You need to write them in 2 parts. I don't know what you wanted to do. I don't know where you wanted to go with that. Can I talk more about student psychology and also empathy that can be used as a teacher? Sure. To be a teacher is to think about psychology. You need to understand what's wrong with a student in order for you to be able to help them. And psychology requires a lot of imagination. So when I see a student that's not acting the way they should be, I have to imagine why. Why are they acting this way? What happened to them? And it could be many things. It could be just the way they're raised. But you have to think about it. So if you're a teacher, you should be thinking about every student in your class and think about their psychology. Do you know about them? Are they shy or are they brave? Are they a bully or are they a protector? Are they excited about learning, or do they seem bored? These are things that you need to consider, and then each one of those questions you have to think about why. Why are they bored about learning? Why are they, why do they seem sad today? Like, why do they seem tired? Maybe they don't sleep enough at home. Okay? Maybe they're addicted to video games. Okay? And empathy, come on. If you're a teacher, you have to have empathy. Again, empathy is imagining what happened to this person. Why are they this way? Okay? And it's about trying to understand how they feel, right? And so again, Mustafa, about how to train your brain to think in English, go to my YouTube channel. There's a video on my YouTube channel that gives you a 5-minute explanation about how to think in English. Okay? Next question. Okay, please be patient. Chinese linguistic art often involves implied meanings, and what you hear may be the opposite of what is meant. Yeah, that's true. But that's true for lots of languages, okay? That's true for English, too. It's more true for English in my experience, because English has something called sarcasm. And many times the sarcastic meaning is totally opposite. Chinese people are usually reserved. Could this be related to their personalities? There is a cultural aspect to Chinese reservation. Okay? There is one thing that you can learn from Americans. Because of the nature of the American culture. The thing you can learn is that you can be part of your culture, but not be ruled by your culture. Or let me say defined. No, that's not a better, that's ruled is a bad term for it. Defined. You can know about your culture, but not be completely defined by it. So that means that a lot of Americans are kind of rude and don't know a lot about the world. Does that mean that I'm that way? I try not to be rude, and I try to learn a lot about the world. So what I mean is, just because most people are that way doesn't mean that I have to be that way. And there's a famous quote from a guy named Rod Serling. He said, being just like everybody is the same as being nobody. Think about that. Being just like everybody is the same as being nobody. So, you can be part of your culture without being only that. Okay? So put it this way, Leo, if you go to the moon, you're not in China anymore, you're not in America, you're not on Earth. So do you have to be reserved anymore? You're on the moon. Why do you have to be bound by your culture anymore if you're on the moon? Do you understand what I mean? Okay? You can be whatever you want to be. How can you season the meat for the best American burger? There's a good question, lucky girl. I'll tell you what, a good American burger is not seasoned with very much. The trick to a good American burger is, one, you have to have a good quality of meat, okay? It has to be a good quality of meat. Two, the meat has to have enough fat in it. If it's too lean, then it can't cook well. The fat is important for it to cook well. So usually we have a ratio of about 80-20, okay? So 80% meat and 20% fat, right? And then the next part that's important to a burger is called the grind. That's when you mix the meat to make it smaller, right? So you take the big pieces of meat and you put them into the thing that crushes it up and to make them small. But you don't want to grind it too much. You don't want it to be too ground. Well, it depends on what kind of burger you're making, but for the burgers that I usually make, I don't like it to be too ground. I like it to be a little bit coarse ground. And then, when you make the burger, you don't push it too much. You keep it loose. Keep it loose and light. And then, when you put it on, salt and pepper. That's it. So it's really all about the quality of meat and the way the meat is prepared. That's what makes a great burger. Okay, next. That was a fun question. Let me check my YouTube. Anything over there? No? Okay, good. Okay. As we know, school is a word that also means college and university. So school is a big word. That means any kind of school. Kindergarten is school. Elementary school. Grade school. Those are all schools, right? College is a school. University is a school. So school is the general term for any place of learning. Okay? College and university. In the United States, college and university are the same. In England and in Europe, in the UK and in Europe, college is the last few years of high school, and then university is higher education, okay, like with professors, okay? Hello, Rima, I'm doing the best I can. Do I like fishing? I love fishing. Rodrigo, what's your basic question? How I must use the word else. Okay, so what else do you want means what more do you want? Okay? Do you have anything else to talk about? Do you have anything more to talk about? Okay, so else is usually more. Okay? What else did she say? What more did she say? Okay? Have I traveled abroad? Yes, I have. How do I have such amazing energy? I don't know. I'm just me. I'm just me. Over the last 12 years, has any student made a special impression on you? Is there any one among them that I just can't forget? Yeah. As a matter of fact, I will make a point of saying to tell you about him. I don't know if he's here today, but I have one student. His name is Muhammad, but he usually calls himself Jack on Hello Talk. And he is 16, if I remember right. And I believe, if I remember right, he's from Syria originally, but he's not in Syria now. I think he's in Turkey or somewhere. I can't remember. But he is one of the brightest young men I've seen on Hello Talk. He's extremely polite. He's extremely diligent. He is the kind of student that every teacher wants, because he doesn't want to learn to make more money. He wants to learn to understand. And it's obvious. It's very obvious. He tries to learn. He loves to learn. He understands the power and value of learning. Okay? And when I say power, I don't mean the power that you can have over other people. I mean the power that you have over yourself and your understanding of the world. When you learn more, you get power to understand more. Okay? So Jack, I don't know if you're out there, but Jack is probably, in the 12 years that I've been on Hello Talk, I don't think I've seen anyone as diligent and hardworking and dedicated and passionate about learning as Jack. And that's why I go out of my way to try to help him as much as I possibly can. I wish I could help him more than I do. Okay, what time do I have teaching in American time? I usually teach early in the morning or late at night. Okay, so usually, 7 a.m., 7:30, 8 a.m., 8:30, 9 a.m., 9:30. That's when I have private lessons. Okay, then I do my live stream. And then at night, I also can do lessons at night sometimes, But really, I can do lessons just about any time of the day if you schedule it with me. Okay, next question. Don, if you're asking what's the difference between every time and every day, every day is every day. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's every day. Every time is just time. So every time I see you, that's not day. That could be, maybe I see you 10 times today. Okay? Every time I see you today, that's every time means each one. Every day is only days. Okay? Let's see. You're angry and frustrated because it's so crazy that Korean doesn't have a single word that was thrown out from Indo-European languages. That's interesting. I didn't know that, actually. Huh. That explains a lot. That does explain a lot. But don't worry about it, man. Don't worry about it. It means that you have a very unique perspective on Proto-Indo-European languages. Okay? If you want to do something, but if culture is the problem, so the person should not do that kind of thing, I don't know if I would agree with that. If you believe that, that's fine. You can believe that. But I think that there are some times when it's totally okay to do something outside of your culture. For example, I eat food from every culture. Am I not allowed to eat Indian food? Indian food is not my culture. But I eat the food. Indian music is not my culture, but I like the music. I have the drums. I've studied it. It's not my culture, but I still learned it. So I think it depends on what you're trying to do. Okay? Hello, Robert. Good to see you. How can you get a free scholarship in the U.S.? I don't know. I don't know. Okay, today I am only answering new questions. If it's a question I've answered before, I will not answer. Okay? Let's see. I've studied yes, mole. 每天你需要看我 okay? 每天你需要听我 okay? That's my answer, okay? How can we connect two sentences with at least? I'm not happy about our plans this weekend, but at least we don't have to go here. Okay, there's a way to, we don't have to go here is one sentence. I'm not happy about our plans, that's another sentence. At least join the two. Okay? But the difference between an author and a writer, sometimes no difference. The only difference I would say is that author usually means books. An author is someone who wrote books. A writer could be any writing. Maybe I write a short story, you're a writer. Maybe I write poetry, you're a writer. Okay, so writer is more general, author is for books. Okay? Let's see. Thank you, Emma. Chuntian, yes, that's correct. College, if you're in the UK or you're in Europe, college is like 10th, 11th, 12th grade, I believe, if I remember right. And then university is after that. But in the United States, high school is 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade. And then we go to college, university. It's the same thing, okay? There is no difference in America, okay? There may have been in the past, but there is no longer. Okay? I don't have any study groups myself, but there is a study group on HelloTalk that you should join. It's called LET. LET is a group. If you see it, look for the LET group. They have many of them. There are thousands of people in these groups. Okay? And that is definitely the best group for studying on HelloTalk. Okay? LET. I don't have a link. I'm sorry. I don't have a link. But just look for it. Okay? I don't think Deborah's here. Are you? Deborah, you're not here, are you? There's a girl named Deborah. She runs the LET group. And Gulzarish, are you here also? Gulzarish, look for Gulzarish, look for Deborah. They're here. They run, or they are involved. Gulzarish, she's not part of it, but she knows about it. So, yeah, look for the two of them. All right? Okay. So if you don't know who I am, hello, my name is Teacher Mark. I am a teacher. I am from the United States. I have been teaching for many, many years. I have been on HelloTalk for 12 years. I have been live streaming for 5 years. I have 84,000 followers around the world. They come to watch me teach. I teach English and I teach life. Okay? Over 1 million people have watched my live streams. Okay? I started teaching in 1994. Yes, LET is the name of the group. LET. Yeah, Learn English Together, I think is what it means. LET. Learn English Together. Okay? I am a teacher of English. I teach English to anyone. So most of my students are Chinese because they know I speak some Chinese. But I teach students from all over the world, any language. If you speak Spanish, fine. If you speak German, fine. If you speak Russian, fine. Doesn't matter. If you want to learn English, you can buy lessons from me. Okay? Can I explain some collocations? There are too many collocations to explain, but I think I have a page. Yep, here it is. Just recently, I had a student ask me about collocations, and I gave them this page. Okay? EnglishClub.com has a great page about collocations. Let me show it to you very quickly. Here it is, EnglishClub.com, okay, common collocations, and look, have a bath, have a drink, have a good time, have a haircut, have a holiday, right? All of these are listed here, okay? There's a great list of collocations right there, okay? Collocations, they are just little groups of words that are put together that are commonly said. Okay, there's a better definition for it, but that's all you need to know. They're just common little phrases. Okay, they're verbs and they're verb phrases is essentially what it is. Okay. Let's see. Next question. Oh, let me stop that. Let's see. Can I say Chinese? 你要我说什么? "中国的食物就是非常非常好吃的食物." Let's see. I usually start around the morning in America. Okay, so if you live in China, my live streams are usually in the evening, maybe around 9 or 10 o'clock. Okay? Grandpa says the phase of the microphone sound was bad for a moment. I don't know. I don't have my headphones on, so I can't hear my sound. Is the microphone okay now? Check one. Hello, hello, hello. Yeah, everything's good? All right, good. Thinzar says, my English level is B1. To improve, what should I do? I'm going to ask you that question. Thinzar, your English level is B1. So what should you do? I'm the teacher. I'm asking you, what should you do? What do you think you should do to improve from B1 to B2? What should you do? I want you to think about it. Okay? If you want to be B2, then are you doing B2 vocabulary? Have you studied any B2 level grammar? Have you studied any B2 reading? Have you done any B2 listening? Right? Have you tried to do any B2 level speaking? If you want to be at a higher level, then you have to try to reach for that level. Reach up, grab on. Okay? If you always reach down, you'll never go up. Let me say that again. If you always reach down, you'll never go up. Reach. Okay? If you are A1 and you want to be A2, reach for A2. If you are A2 and you want to be B1, reach for B1. If you are B1 and want to be B2, reach for B2. Okay? The mic is back in good spirits. Good. I'm glad. Okay, I said hello, but you didn't respond. I'm sorry. Hello. Okay, yeah, if anybody is part of the LET group, can you send Rima a message? Because I can't do it when I'm on the computer. I can't do that. So please help Rima find the LET group if anybody's a member. Okay? Is jumping from B2 to C1 the hardest? It is, in my opinion. Well, I'll say that B2 to C1 and C1 to C2, both of those are very difficult. But B1 and B2, I want you guys to think about the levels of language are like neighborhoods. Okay? And some neighborhoods are small neighborhoods, and some neighborhoods are big neighborhoods. And you need to learn that neighborhood. So you have to spend some time in the A1 neighborhood to feel comfortable with that neighborhood. Okay? And the A1 and the A2 neighborhoods, they're not that big. They're not that bad. But the B1 neighborhood and the B2 neighborhood, those are big, big neighborhoods. There are a lot of vocabulary words in B1 and B2. Okay? There's a lot of grammar in B1 and B2 level. So B1 and B2 are big neighborhoods that take more time to learn. All right? C1 and C2 are difficult because the language that they use is not very common. So all of the language in A1, A2, B1, B2, it's common language and then it's uncommon language. So C2 is not common. A1 is very common. You see how that works? Okay? So when you're learning the A1 common language, that's everybody knows these words. But the C2 language, not everybody knows those words. Okay? You studied English for 2 years, but you've forgotten all the things. Then that means that the way you're studying is not good. If you study and you forget, then the way you studied was not good. You need to learn how to study. Studying means you have to be consistent. Okay? If you're consistent, you won't forget. All right? How do you know what you are? There are many online tests that you can take to find your language level. ChatGPT can do that for you if you talk to ChatGPT enough, right? So if you write a lot, write at least 1,000 words, maybe 5,000 words. Write a lot into ChatGPT. Then ask ChatGPT to tell you your level. But if you only write a little, it can't tell you your level. All right? Does the live end when my coffee is finished? Sometimes that's how it works, yeah. When did I start learning Chinese? It's been a long time. I think I started learning Chinese almost 15 years ago, probably. Almost 15 years ago. But I'm nearly 100% self-taught, and teaching yourself a language takes longer. If I went to school, I'm sure I could learn much faster. I don't speak Chinese like a native speaker. I definitely do not. My Chinese is very weird. I tell everybody that I speak really bad Chinese really well. So my Chinese sounds really comfortable, but I know that it's not like a native would say it. Okay, let me think. So I'm coming to the end of my time here shortly. So if you have questions, ask your questions, because I'm only going to be here for another 5 or 10 minutes. Let's see, what do I think people who speak English on the news, what level do they have? National news, I would say that the majority of people on national news should have around a B2, C1 level of language. But it depends on what you're watching. News can be a little different, because news is supposed to be for everyone. So when you do the news, sometimes you deliberately try to use slightly more simple language. For example, most newspapers are written with only 6th grade level English. Okay, 6th grade level, nothing higher than that. Okay, because we want everyone to be able to understand the articles. So that's why news sometimes is different. Okay, but if you're watching, for example, like some news on PBS, public broadcast or something, they might be using C1 level language. Or even C2 maybe, academic level language. Documentaries might have C1, C2 level, okay? But national news is more like B2, B1. Local news is more like B1. Okay? I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio, in the middle of the United States. How do I find Vietnamese people's English pronunciation often wrong? Older brother, Guga, in Chinese. Here's what you need to understand about Vietnamese and English. Vietnamese has a very different rhythm. The feel is different, and that's the biggest pronunciation problem that Vietnamese people have. The reason why is because the Vietnamese language, the end of the words in Vietnamese the ends of the words are not spoken, or they're said very lightly. So the feeling of Vietnamese, it sounds more, how do I say this? It sounds like every word is disconnected. But it's very disconnected. But English words are connected and smooth, like I'm doing right now. So here's what I tell people from Vietnam. Practice singing English. When you sing English words, the words come together smoothly. And Vietnamese people need to learn how to make that smooth sound with their words. So practice singing, right? Just choose a song. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Those are nice and smoothly together because I had one breath. Okay? So that's a big, big difference between Vietnamese and English. I see mostly ABC, CBS, NBC. You think the NBC anchor uses C2? No. Nobody uses C2 language in any of the news, really. C2 language is very academic level. It's not understood by many people. It's for academics. All right? I love C2 level language, but I don't use it very often because it's only useful in some places. Okay? How do you celebrate Halloween? Well, you know, now I'm older, so now I don't really celebrate myself. Now the kids in the neighborhood will come and they dress up in Halloween costumes. You know, they're little monsters and ghosts and goblins and things. And they come with a bag and they say trick or treat, and we give them some candy, right? So now I just give candy, and we put up decorations, and you know, that's all. But when I was younger, when I was a kid, I would dress up in a costume and go out and get candy. And when I was in my 20s, we would have big parties, Halloween parties that were a lot of fun, you know? Okay? Yes, you always forget the ending sounds, right? That's the big difference between Vietnamese and English. Yeah. Okay. Do I have English classes? If you mean, do I teach private lessons? Yes, I do. So let me tell you guys about me for a minute. Here is my YouTube channel. Here is my website. And here is my blog. Go follow, okay? I have been on Hello Talk for 12 years. I have been on Hello Talk for 12 years, okay? And Kasim, I'll tell you who I am. I'm the guy who's kicking you out. I have been on Hello Talk for 12 years. I am a real English teacher. I'm here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I have 84,000 followers on Hello Talk. They follow me because I give good advice. I think. Maybe. Okay? So, you should follow me. Okay? Now, I need to go because I'm hungry. I want to go eat some lunch. I haven't eaten much today. So I do need to go. But I will answer just a couple more questions here. Let's see. Are Halloween parties also held in America? Yeah, of course. Yeah, lots of people have parties. Sure. Okay? Why do native speakers use reductions in movies? Because it's the natural way people speak. Reduction means to make things smaller. It happens to every language. Every language, you learn the really formal way, and then you speak the way people speak. That's reductions. They're just, instead of saying, I'm going to the store, they say, I'm gonna go to the store. Instead of saying, I'm walking, they say, I'm walking. It's just a natural way that language becomes more efficient to reduce. Okay? Okay, everybody. I must go. You couldn't find the group that I mentioned, the LET group. So I will try to talk to. I'll send a message to Deborah, who's the leader of the group, and I'll get the code. I'll try to find some way to connect you to her. I'll make a post on my moments. All right, I'll make a post on my moments about the LET group, and somehow you'll be able to follow on that post. All right, so just watch my moments, and later I'll post about it. All right. Okay, I have to go, but I'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow's what? Tomorrow's Thursday. Ooh, no, tomorrow I don't think I'll be here. Sometimes Thursday I have too many students in the morning. I'm too busy. So I may not be here tomorrow, but I will be here Friday. All right. So you should come back and see me again. All right. And thank you. If you gave me presents or gifts, I do appreciate it. I don't get paid. Hello Talk does not pay me anything. I don't make money doing this. I lose money doing this. I have spent a lot of money to do this, actually. Okay. So I don't make money. All right. But if you give me tips, if you send me a tip, I appreciate it. Okay. It's not much, but it's nice. All right. So please support me if you can. And thank you very much for your support. Okay? Have a good morning. Have a good afternoon. Have a good evening wherever you live in this world. And I will see you next time. Okay? You are welcome. Goodbye, everybody.